The following is a talk given by His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj on December 10th, 2014 in New Delhi, India. The talk was about pastimes with Srila Prabhupada.
Mahagarodiratanam Mangulangaya Teganam Yatribhata Mahan Vande Siguram Nidhanam Paramanandamaram Sri Chaitanyeswaram. Today is Srila Prabhupada Leela again.
Today is Srila Prabhupada Leela again.
So, are there any questions first?
So there is an interesting question. Since it is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disappearance day, could you recollect how the GBC meetings, annual meetings started in Mayapur and something related to that? What remembrances you have of some of those meetings?
You see, first, Prabhupada was the first chairman of the GBC.
Srila Prabhupada was the first chairman of the GBC.
He presided over the meeting.
He presided over the meeting
And had the GBC members
and had the GBC members
sitting before him.
sitting before him.
So he asked, what's the purpose of the GBC?
So he asked, what is the purpose of the GBC?
So one of the members, I think it was H.H.Jayapataka Swami,
One of the members, I think it was Jayatirtha Prabhu,
he raised the point
he raised the point
that the GBC is meant to fulfill the desires and instructions of His Divine Grace, H.H.Jayapataka Swami Prabhupada.
He said that the GBC is meant to fulfill the desires and instructions of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Then each of the members added something,
Then each of the members added something,
but the first resolution was about fulfilling Prabhupada's instructions.
So the first resolution was about fulfilling Srila Prabhupada's instructions.
Then they also said that while each member had certain duties,
They also said that while each member had certain duties,
that no one member was equal to the body.
no one member was equal to the body.
That the
body
had all the members had a overriding power.
That all the members as a body had the overriding power.
So like that, these first minutes are on record.
So at least these first minutes are on record.
Not at least. All minutes are on record,
All minutes are on record,
including the first.
including the first.
So then, next meeting was held also, I think, in Prabhupada's room.
The next meeting was also held, I think, in Prabhupada's room.
And then they would meet separately
And then they would meet separately
and come back with their resolutions.
and come back with their resolutions.
And Prabhupada would sign on them.
And Prabhupada would sign on them.
So I didn't become a formal member of the GBC
I didn't become a formal member of the GBC
until 1977.
until 1977.
Then there was a vacancy,
Then there was a vacancy,
and Prabhupada, he said I could be a member.
and then Prabhupada said that I could be a member.
So I was I started out as assistant GBC,
So I started out as assistant GBC,
and acting GBC,
then acting GBC,
then GBC.
then GBC.
So I was a bit surprised
I was a bit surprised
because the first meeting I went to
because the first meeting that I went to
was in the Lotus Building,
was in the Lotus building,
and they didn't really have any protocol.
and they didn't really have any protocol.
If people spoke too much,
If people spoke too much,
then Kirtananda would hit a bucket with his stick.
if people spoke too much, then Kirtananda would hit a bucket with a stick.
And so I thought, oh, they should have the Robert's Rules of Order.
So I thought that they had Robert's Rules of Order.
I thought they should have
I thought they should have
some kind of rules of order.
some kinds of rules of order.
So I proposed
So I proposed
a Krishna conscious rules of order.
a Krishna conscious rules and order.
And so the minutes were held, the meetings were held
So the meetings were held
following this system,
following the system,
raising your hand,
raising a hand,
being called on,
being called on,
speaking,
speaking.
so on. So, but still, although they were a little rough,
But still, although they were a bit rough,
they were doing everything
they were doing everything
to satisfy Prabhupada.
to satisfy Prabhupada.
And Prabhupada, in his lifetime,
And Prabhupada, in his lifetime,
he had started the GTC meetings.
he had started the GBC meetings.
And he wanted to be sure that these would continue
And he wanted to be sure that these would continue
without any end.
without any end.
So today, because we are celebrating the disappearance day of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur,
Today, because we are celebrating the disappearance day of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur,
and he had told his disciples
and he had told his disciples
to manage collectively
to manage collectively
using a GDC system.
using a GBC system.
So, and they did for some years,
And they did it for some years,
and they had some other idea.
and then they had some other idea.
So Prabhupada, he wrote about this in the Adilila chapter 12.
And Prabhupada wrote about this in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela chapter 12.
He was very concerned that we should not deviate and we should stick to this system.
He was very concerned that we should stick to this system.
Later there were some member
Later there was some member
who left,
who left,
and we could see if we had had the one Acharya system,
we could see that if we had the one Acharya system,
this person would have left with his disciples.
this person would have left with his disciples.
but because we had a GDC system,
But because we had the GBC system,
we were able to keep most of the disciples back in ISKCON.
we were able to keep most of his disciples within ISKCON.
So Srila Prabhupada wanted to do this
So Srila Prabhupada wanted to do this
to please his Guru Maharaj.
to please his Guru Maharaj.
And that's the Parambara system.
That is the Parampara system.
Before you can be a master, you have to be a good disciple.
Before you could be a master, you have to be a good disciple.
You have to follow.
You have to follow.
And following is simple
And following is simple
but difficult for the one with a false ego.
but difficult for the one with a false ego.
So Prabhupada was looking for that quality.
So Prabhupada was looking for that quality.
Who would be a true follower?
Who would be a true follower?
Because by following the line of spiritual masters,
Because by following the line of spiritual masters,
naturally we could achieve more.
naturally we could achieve more.
And by speculating and doing something
And by,
different,
and by speculating and doing something different,
we would be off the track.
we would be off the track. So the next question,
Vyasa Puja time, most of the years in Mayapur, and he was not there for Disciplines Day festivals in December. So, do you recollect how in Mayapur you celebrated Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Disciplines Day?
I remember one disappearance day
I remember one disappearance day
where Prabhupada was present,
where Prabhupada was present,
and he said on these days we like to glorify all the spiritual masters.
and he said that on this day we would like to glorify all the previous spiritual masters.
So he detailed how each guru
So he detailed how each guru,
Dhanat Das Babaji,
Jagannath Das Babaji,
Bhaktivinoda Thakur,
Bhaktivinoda Thakur,
or Kishore Das Babaji,
Gaur Kishore Das Babaji,
Om Vishnupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur,
Om Vishnupad Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur,
and Prabhupada.
and Prabhupada.
How they had done something for the development and
How they had done something for the development and
the expansion of the glories
expansion of the glories
of the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya.
of the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya.
And Prabhupada, he said that in his humble way, he was also trying to do something for Navadvip Dham.
And Prabhupada said, in his humble way, he was also trying to do something for Navadvip Dham.
And he said he was very grateful to those devotees who were helping him.
He said that he was very grateful to those devotees who were helping him.
And he choked up. He choked up
He choked up
and started crying.
and started crying.
And then class could not continue.
And then the class could not continue.
He waved his hands and
He waved his hands
everybody chanted Hare Krishna.
and everybody chanted Hare Krishna.
For some reason,
For some reason,
so far, this particular class
so far this particular class
they have not found.
They have not found.
So if someone finds it,
So if somebody finds that,
it's a disappearance day. It's in December.
it's a disappearance day
Srila Prabhupada.
of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
And the appearance day is just after the Gaur Purnima.
And the appearance day is just before Gaur Purnima.
And so naturally Prabhupada would be there for that.
So naturally Prabhupada would be there for that.
This was as I remember, this was a disappearance day.
So as far as I remember, this lecture was about the disappearance day.
And so there are some years that Prabhupada came after the month of Damodar.
So there were some years in which Prabhupada came to Mayapur after the month of Damodar.
And most years he came before,
Most years he came before,
and some years he came after.
some years he came after.
So this would be in a year he came after.
So this would be in the year in which he came after.
So if someone can find that lecture,
So if someone could find that lecture,
we'd be very grateful.
we would be very grateful.
But I have a very vivid memory of that.
But I have a very vivid memory of that.
I was sitting very close to Srila Prabhupada,
I was seated very close to Srila Prabhupada,
and what he said was very penetrating.
and what he said was very penetrating.
As far on the appearance day and disappearance day of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur,
As far as the appearance day and the disappearance day of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur,
we would put his picture on the Vyasasana,
we would put his picture on the Vyasasana,
on the Vyasasana of Prabhupada,
on the Vyasasana of Srila Prabhupada,
and Srila Prabhupada would sit by the side.
and Srila Prabhupada would sit by the side.
On some other, I don't remember if it was a chair or Vyasasana or what,
I don't remember it was a chair or Vyasasana, but
sit by the side.
he would sit by the side.
So that was once a year or twice a year that he would do this.
So that was once a year or twice a year that he would do this.
That was a very special day.
So it is a very special day.
Otherwise, we would do the Abhishek and the Pushpanjali,
We would do the Abhishek and Pushpanjali
and offer homages.
and offer homages.
But since Prabhupada was there,
But since Prabhupada was there,
he gave a speech.
he gave a speech. There is one question which Shamrasik doesn't want to ask himself. So he's appointed me to ask on his behalf. He said that you mentioned that there are many scolding pastimes that you had with Prabhupada. So he wants you to recollect some of that. Originally asked by Sakshat Hari Prabhu.
Now, like when Prabhupada would arrive in Mayapur
When Prabhupada would arrive in Mayapur
for the first 2 days or so, for the first 2 days or so,
for the first 2 days or so,
he was praising everything.
he was praising everything.
He was appreciating everything.
He was appreciating everything.
Oh, so clean, so nice.
Oh, so clean, so nice.
Mayapur,
Mayapur.
living and dying in Mayapur, it's all one.
Living and dying in Mayapur is all one.
Like that, so many things to say.
Like that, so many things they would say.
Then, like in Mayapur, we're on the Tropic of Cancer.
And then in Mayapur, we are on the Tropic of Cancer.
So, when the wind turns from the south to the north,
When the wind turns from the south to the north,
you get the Himalayan breezes,
we get the Himalayan breezes,
and the temperature goes down overnight.
and the temperature goes down overnight.
Not quite so low as Delhi, but
It's not quite so low as Delhi, but
it's yeah, there is better or cheddar.
it was, we would have to wear chadar.
So like that,
So like that,
after some days,
after some days,
like the wind changed,
it was like the wind change.
and then he'd start to ask questions.
And then he would start to ask questions.
Like he go on morning walk.
He would go on the morning walk.
Someone threw a piece of paper over the Chakra building veranda.
Someone threw a piece of paper on the Chakra building veranda.
It fell down in the garden.
From the Chakra building veranda, which fell down in the garden.
So Prabhupada stopped and said, "What is that?"
Prabhupada stopped and said, "What is that?"
And I don't know what it was. It's a piece of dirt.
This piece of dirt.
So then he got scolded.
They've got scolded.
Why is this dirt here?
Why is this dirt here?
I don't, the scolding would last for some time,
Scolding would last for some time,
1 or 2 minutes.
1 or 2 minutes,
Enough to sink in.
enough to sink in.
So when we go on,
And then we would go on.
and anything out of place,
Anything on the plates,
anything out of place,
anything out of place,
any dirt, any garbage,
any dirt, any garbage,
he would inquire.
he would inquire.
Like I went to a military gathering,
Like I went to a military gathering,
a military academy,
a military academy,
and sometimes the officer would come in and inspect our rooms.
Sometimes the officer would come in and inspect our rooms.
He'd wear white gloves,
He would wear white gloves,
and he would put his tender fingers
he would put his tender fingers
alongside the upper part of the windows,
alongside the upper part of the windows,
doorways,
doorways,
anywhere there might be dust.
anywhere there might be dust.
And if you found some,
And if you found some,
you're mud.
you were
Mud.
murdered.
You're a mud. You're like a piece of mud.
You are like a piece of mud.
So, on a broader scale, it was like that.
Hindi?
In a broader scale, going with Prabhupada was like that.
Oh, on a broader scale, Prabhupada was like that.
Here, the whole Mayapur, any dirt,
Here in the whole of Mayapur, any dirt,
anything out of place,
anything out of place,
he would catch it.
he would catch it.
One day we were walking,
One day we were walking,
and there was a pipe
there was a pipe
dripping.
dripping.
He said,
He said,
why is the pipe dripping?
why is the pipe dripping?
You're wasting Krishna's energy.
You're wasting Krishna's energy.
Who is responsible?
Who is responsible?
Everybody pointed to me.
Everybody pointed to me.
This time, Prabhupada said,
This time Prabhupada said,
Jayapataka Swami, he's responsible for everything.
not Jayapataka Swami, he's responsible for everything.
But who is particularly responsible for the pipes?
But who is particularly responsible for the pipes?
You see, Jayapataka Swami is co-director.
You see, Jayapataka Swami is co-director.
He has to see that everybody else is doing their service.
He has to see that everybody else is doing their service.
But each thing should have someone who is responsible.
Each thing should have someone who is responsible.
So who is responsible for pipes?
So who is responsible for the pipes?
So I had to find out who was the pipe in charge.
So I had to find out who was the pipe in charge.
And so Prabhupada preached to him
So Prabhupada preached to him
how every drop of water was so important.
So Prabhupada preached to him how every drop of water was so important.
How he shouldn't waste Krishna's water.
How you shouldn't waste Krishna's water.
How he should use Krishna's energy in his service.
How we should use Krishna's energy in his service.
So at one point we were leaving the edge of the property.
At one point we were living at the edge of the property.
We're leaving,
We're leaving the edge of the property.
and there was a little triangle
There was a little triangle
about 5 feet
about 5 feet,
triangle.
a triangle.
So Prabhupada said, what are you going here?
So Prabhupada said, what is going on here?
This is a small piece.
The small piece,
Weeds are growing.
some weeds are growing.
What's a weed? He asked.
What is a weed? He asked.
Some plant without any use.
Some plant without any use.
Well, every plant has use.
Every plant has some use.
You don't know what the use is,
You don't know what the use is.
but that doesn't mean it has no use.
That doesn't mean that it has no use.
It has use.
It has use.
You just don't know it.
You just don't know.
Now this triangle,
In this triangle,
it should also be utilized.
is not being utilized.
It should be utilized.
It should be utilized.
Grow some flowers, grow some tulsi, grow something.
Grow some flowers, grow some tulsi, grow something.
So, like this, these are some of the examples
So like this, these are some of the examples.
how we would get the sauce,
How we would get the sauce.
how we get instructions.
How we would get instructions.
And this way, Prabhupada wanted us to have a perfect example of a clean, neat temple.
In this way, Prabhupada wanted us to have a perfect example of a clean and neat temple.
In India,
India,
not every temple is neat and clean,
not every temple is neat and clean.
but Prabhupada, he wanted the highest standard.
But Prabhupada, he wanted the highest standard.
So, someone who walks or on the canvas, He looked at all the rooms, even the toilets, everywhere to see. Everything was clean.
So Prabhupada would look. Prabhupada would look everywhere in the campus, all the rooms, all the toilets, to see everything is clean.
You didn't know where he would go next.
You didn't know where he would go next.
And what door he'd knock over with his cane.
What door he would knock over with his cane.
So Prabhupada ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
So Mayapur, Vrindavan, Bombay, they were special areas that Prabhupada oversaw.
So Mayapur, Vrindavan and Bombay were special areas that Prabhupada oversaw.
I once came to Vrindavan and Prabhupada was doing the same thing there.
And Prabhupada is doing the same thing there.
There he went to a small room.
Which
Was in front of the deity room.
It is in front of the deity room.
But it was at the other end.
But it is the other end.
So he said, here the rooms are clean.
He said, here the rooms are clean.
And then the manager there said, yes.
The manager said,
okay.
Yes, all clean.
Okay.
Okay.
All okay.
All are clean.
And then out of nowhere, a bird nest fell on Prabhupada's hand.
A bird nest fell on Prabhupada's hand.
He looked up.
Prabhupada looked up.
There in the fan, there was light.
The fan or the light,
there was a bird nest.
There is a bird nest.
And the birds were laying their eggs. So somehow a little piece of that fell down. And then Prabhupada
looked up.
Everything okay?
Everything okay?
So on these temples of Vrindavan, he wanted them to be a showpiece.
The temples in Mayapur and Vrindavan, he wanted them to be a showpiece.
And he was, when he was there,
and when he was there,
he would see that everything is stick and span up to the mark.
And he would see that everything was spick and span and up to the mark.
So we had this opportunity of a very intimate association with Prabhupada.
Of a very intimate association with Srila Prabhupada.
And we knew that.
And we knew that.
He was not just instructing us.
That he was not just instructing us.
But also all the visiting sannyasis and leaders.
But also all the visiting sannyasis and leaders.
One time in Mayapur, Prabhupada was chastising me.
Prabhupada was chastising me
for something. I forget what. But some visiting Swami, he thought it was very funny.
He thought that it was very funny. He thought it was very funny.
And he smiled during the most knew that you don't smile.
And he smiled. Most knew that you don't smile.
Prabhupada was chastising one, you could easily swing to anyone else.
So most knew that you should not smile. If Prabhupada is chastising someone, he could easily swing to anyone else.
And he was instructing everyone. So this person,
he just smiled.
He he didn't really understand the mood.
He didn't really understand the mood
He went upstairs.
and went upstairs.
That night he got food poisoning.
That night he had food poisoning
Very sick.
and he was very sick.
So I had to take care of him.
So I had to take care of him.
And he realized that he had made a big mistake.
And he realized that he had made a big mistake. So there was one incident that I read many years ago in one of the Guru Mukha Padmavakya magazines where I didn't understand what exactly was explained there. There was something about the chakra building and you wanted to break some wall or something and Prabhupada did not like it. He wanted some other... I mean, you explained it there, but I couldn't understand what exactly was that.
It's in the original plan,
In the original plan,
there was each first floor room
each first floor room
had a hatch,
had a
hatch,
hatch,
a stair, and a wooden ladder.
hatch, a stair, and a wooden ladder.
And it's not a stair, it's a wooden ladder.
Not a stair, wooden ladder.
And so that means that on the ground floor, on the first floor, you had an extra basement attached.
That means on the first floor you had an extra basement attached.
So I suggested that
So I suggested that
if they made a doorway in the wall,
if they make a doorway in the wall
and had that accessed by the ground floor,
and have that accessed from the ground floor,
not having any hatch from the first floor,
and that could then be
not having any hatch,
not having any hatch from the first floor,
and not having any stairway or any ladder, wooden ladder.
and not having any wooden ladder.
That would be a better option,
That would be a better option,
more practical.
more practical.
But at first, Prabhupada said, break my wall, break your head.
First Prabhupada said, break my wall, break your head.
But I said, if we save money, if we save money,
If we save money,
Prabhupada thought for a second,
Prabhupada thought for a second,
prove it.
prove it.
So in those days, there were no computers.
In those days there were no computers.
So I had my circular slide rule.
So I had my circular slide rule.
And I had to calculate
And so I had to calculate
how many bricks,
how many bricks,
how much
mortar,
how much water,
how much water,
how much wood rather,
how much wood,
and the wooden hats, and it's more expensive than a concrete floor.
A wooden hatch was more expensive than a concrete floor.
But how much a wood door costs?
But how much a wood door costs,
All these things I had to calculate.
all these things I had to calculate.
My slide rule.
With my slide rule.
Finally, after about 20 hours,
Finally, after about 20 hours,
I found that we saved 5,000 rupees.
I found that we could save 5,000 rupees.
I brought the paper up to Prabhupada.
So I brought that paper up to Prabhupada.
I said we save 5,000 rupees.
I said we could save 5,000 rupees.
He said, all right,
So I said, all right,
do it.
do it.
So at that time, they were building each room with a ladder, and so they'd already done like 6.
At that time, they were building each room with a ladder, and they were already done 6.
Racing has time.
So I was wasting this time.
Racing against time.
So I was racing against time.
Because what was the use if I had a calculation, if already all the
What is the use if I had a calculation if already all the wooden stairs were laid?
so then later we used those rooms,
Later we used those rooms,
and still today they're used as a dharamshala.
and still today they're used as dharmashala. Those rooms have that door, the wooden. No.
Charcoal building.
Yeah, but those rooms have that wooden stair ladder.
I think that after some years they got rid of us.
Yeah, yeah. Because they removed it after some years. Yeah, I think we'll end here. It's already 9:30.
Any questions?
Where and when did you meet Srila Prabhupada first?
In Montreal,
In Montreal.
in this life.
In this life.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,